Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Courtside Soundoff podcast. I'm Josh Evanoff. He's Angel Ortega. Obviously sponsored by Amazon and Target this week. Amazon, go through the link on our Podbean or the YouTube page, and you can help support us by something you want. You can help us as well. Lot to talk about this week. UFC Moscow, UFC Brazil, bare knuckle fighting, the NFL, the Browns, Steelers, Carmelo Anthony making his way back into the league, and boxing. But first we're going to start off with UFC Moscow. Last Saturday morning-ish, afternoon, whatever you want to say, in the main event, Zabit Magomedsharipov taking on Calvin Kattar. This is originally a main event between Junior Dos Santos and Alexander Volkov. After Dos Santos dropped out, bumped up to the main event, Zabit and Kattar. So this ended up staying 3 rounds because Zabit's camp turned down the 5-round fight, and ultimately that was definitely the best decision they could have possibly made. I know Zabit said after the fight that he had an infection, that's why he gassed out, but if you guys have watched Zabit at all in his UFC career, you notice that 3rd round he's always dead tired, and Calvin Kattar absolutely dominated him that 3rd round as well. And I thought it was a relatively close fight. Obviously I think Zabit won round 1 and 2 were very phenomenal rounds. He looked great on the feet. His movement was really, really great. Kattar could not get even close to him. You know, Zabit's an amazingly big featherweight. I think he's 6'2" and has a super long reach. Kattar couldn't get in on him until that 3rd round, and he started doing tons of work to the body. He was hitting him upstairs as well. A phenomenal round for Kattar. Kattar's one of my guys that I really look forward to, seeing his progression at 145. He has a lot of talent, and we know Zabit's there, but now we know how Kattar kind of fits into the mix of the top 10. Zabit won the title shot afterwards. I don't think he deserves it, but Andrew, did you see the main event at all, or did you see highlights?
I watched a round or two, if I remember right, because it was early in the morning, and I tried to. It was that day of the whole JJ fight, so I was trying to get set up for all of that, and that was a whole process in of itself. So I ended up missing a fair bit of things. I was able to catch the 2 fights at the very end, but even then, I didn't get to watch it in its entirety because between it, I was doing some other things. But like you said, I remember it being a relatively close fight. It wasn't like a one-man, fuckfest of destruction, to put it like that. To put it very brutal.
One-way fuckfest of destruction, Angel Ortega 2019.
There you go. That's my quote of the year. But like you said, it looked like a close fight. And the guy is fucking massive, dude. It doesn't make any sense how he's that big. And yeah, I mean, it does make sense, right? It's not like he's any 7-foot person, but the thing is, the guy is very long and tall, and then especially at that weight class. And it works for him, though. It works for him, and clearly, it's continuing to work out for him because he won the fight.
Yeah, he's really big for that,
But if I do remember right, I think they said he just, edged out, the wins. I don't remember how close the fight was, but I remember hearing the commentary in the background, I feel like Zabit just edged out the win.
He pretty much did. Rounds 1 and 2, I'd say round 1 was definitely clear as Zabit. Round 2 was pretty close, but I think the majority of people gave it to Zabit. All the judges did as well, and then round 3 was clearly Kattar. So it was a super close fight.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, so it ended up being 29-28 on all the judges' scorecards. That's the way I had it. I had it for Zabit. But that dude's got to work on his gas tank if he's going to... Could you imagine, if he's already getting tired in the 3rd round, imagine what Max Holloway's going to do to him. That guy never gets tired. That's kind of my viewpoint on it.
We'll never get tired.
Never get tired. Also in the co-main... Angel said if Greg Hardy wanted to be the greatest UFC upset ever, or around there, not even close. He did okay, I'll say that much. He ended up losing 30-27 on all judge scorecards. But at no point did I really think, oh man, Greg Hardy's doing good. He was just Volkov looked like he was going at 35%. He was kind of just keeping him at range using kicks and jabs. Greg apparently he broke his hand at some point in the 1st or 2nd round, so he couldn't really throw it, and the big overhand right is really the only thing that we know he has in his wheelhouse. But still, he went to a decision. He didn't look tired, he didn't look gassed. I think I gave him 1 round. I think it might have been the 3rd, but even then, he never really looked that great. Very lopsided win for Volkov. I mean, he got the decision. Obviously Hardy went to a decision, so at least he has that to stick on to. But definitely not the upset of the year that some people thought might have happened.
What do we expect, though? That is another thing.
I remember whenever the fight got announced, people were expecting Volkov to lose because they'd only seen the Derek Lewis fight.
I think that's so unfair, though.
It's incredibly unfair.
Because we talked about that. He was clearly opposite of his name. Clearly, we know if you look at the resume, he's a talented guy. You don't even need to base it off just that one fight.
Yeah, he's top 5. Pretty clearly top 5.
Yeah.
And Derek Lewis hits hard as hell, so I didn't really understand people that were saying that Hardy's gonna win. I never understood that.
Casual fans, my friend. Casual fans.
Casual fans, pretty.
I'm not saying I am the most knowledgeable human being, but I'm aware of who what Volkov is capable. Yeah. But hey, credit to him, man. He didn't get finished though. That's that's a big deal to him, I think, in a way, because he learned a lot. I think he must have learned a lot. I mean, I would hope he learned a lot from fighting a guy that good. Because from the level of competition he's been fighting to where he went then, I mean, it's just an insane jump in his in his career. So I think it's a good learning lesson. And he did, and there was no crazy amount of damage. So going forward in his career, this isn't bad for him.
Yes, sorry to interrupt, but I was going to say that to go from Ben Sassoli from Alexander Volkov is absolutely insane. But that's exactly what he did. So, at least he didn't get finished. At least he has that to look forward to. At least under his, he has that on his record because tons of guys have gotten finished by Volkov. Worse guys. Fabricio Verdun got finished by Volkov. So
that man was once good though.
That man was once amazing. So,
but it might have been steroids.
It depends. If you believe USADA, maybe.
There you go.
But anyways, so yeah, that was basically all that was to come out of UFC Moscow. I know it was not a very good card. I'll be honest. I wrote up most of that main card. I covered it for Courtside Press, and it was nothing really that excellent. Anthony Rocco Martin got a win. Ed Herman got a win. Danny Roberts got a pretty nice win. Magomed Ankalaev is the one person I will say, watch out for that guy. He's a fucking threat in that division. He's not ranked yet, but he's 13-1. He only has one loss, and it was Paul Bearju Craig, who we're going to talk about in a minute. In that fight, he was dominating. He lost at literally 4:59 in round 5 after winning every other second before that. He has 2 other wins that are both via KO in the UFC and one via a lopsided decision. This kid is only 27. He is from Dagestan. He's that exact Dagestan guy that we talk about with ruthless wrestling, except he also has the striking to back it up. 7 knockout wins. So I'm looking forward to that kid, and he got a knockout win. Anderson Silva-esque on the prelims. That's my one big takeaway. I hope people watch out for that kid. But yeah, I guess we can move on to UFC Brazil. I don't know if it's actually Sao Paulo. I'm not going to lie and say I know where it's at. I believe it's Sao Paulo, Brazil, though. In the main event, Jan Blachowicz is trying to take on his second 185-pound, third 185-pounder in a row. He he was 1-1 against 185ers. He lost via knockout to Thiago Santos, and then he knocked out Luke Rockhold viciously last time out in July, UFC 239. Rockhold and Santos are both coming up from 185. Santos is fucking huge, though. I don't know how that dude ever made 185, but now he's taking on Jacare. I never thought Jacare was that big at 185, but, Jacare is I don't want to be disrespectful, but he's an old man now. He's got that old man strength, and he's probably just tired of cutting weight. I think he's like 40 now. If he's not 40, he's at the very least in his upper 30s. He's definitely an older guy. And he's obviously top 10 at the division. So, he's still top tier, at least at 185 in my opinion. He had one loss before heading up to 205, which was to, what is his name? Not Cannonier, Hermanson. So, he's moving up to 205. Jan Blachowicz, Obviously, we know his credentials, very great striker. This is a fight I've gone back and forth with a lot, but I think to me the big thing is that it's 5 rounds. I don't think it's 5 rounds, and Wachowicz has an amazing chin. He's also not a guy that really gets submitted. He's been submitted once in his entire career. He's also very good credentialed guy on the ground as well. He has a lot of submissions. 9 of his wins every get submission. He's a very good rounded guy. And Jacare, he really showed his age last time out against Hermanson. I'm not saying he looked bad, but he didn't seem like he could pull the trigger. He either got submitted, he got dropped. He's just been looking older as of late, and he got tired in that 5-round fight against Hermanson. And, Jan's a guy who never gets tired. He never lets up. And to me, I think that's going to be the big key here. So I'm going to take Jan Blachowicz via decision. I think Jacare is way too tough of a guy to get finished. But, I'm going to take Jan here. And relatively close fight. Who you got, Angel?
Oh, dude, it's funny because, they both fought guys who've tried to turn around their career recently or try to, bring it back. And Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold. I know it hasn't been within the same year, but relatively close time. So for some reason I keep thinking back to those moments in time, which for some reason is just sticking in my head for some reason because it's just funny that they fought those two guys who just haven't been able to bring it back. But dude, man's age, and then at this point in fighting, it just any time anybody stays leading to, and I guess in MMA it's different, right? Because you have a number of ways to win, but it's at some point, it catches up to you, and I think at this point it's probably going to start catching up to him, especially because of his recent fights. And then obviously, Jan looked pretty good against Luke this last fight. Obviously, Luke coming up and not having the greatest of time recently in his career. So I imagine, we'll probably see the victory come out on his end. I don't think it'll be a finish because, obviously the years of experience and just the knowledge won't. I don't think Jacare will allow that to happen.
Yeah, definitely. But to move on to the co-main, which honestly I'm looking forward to the co-main as much as I'm looking forward to the main event. Shogun Rua, obviously Pride legend, Pride never die, taking on Paul the Bear Jew Craig. This fight is ridiculous, and I never thought in 1,000 years if he put these guys up against each other, I'd be debating in my head who would win. But obviously Bear Jew, which by the way, greatest nickname of all time. If you guys have seen the movie Inglourious Bastards, obviously the greatest nickname of all time, the Bear Jew. Okay, he has wins against Magomed Ankalaev, Henry De Silva, Vinicius Moreira, a couple of really nice wins in there, all of which are via submission. He's definitely not the greatest striker on the feet, as we saw against Tyson Pedro, and especially Khalil Roundtree, who just tuned him up. But, the guy never quits. He has a really, really tough chin. You can't really put him out that easily. But he's excellent on the ground. He's so good on the ground. He never gives up. He has a great gas tank, and he's going against a very old, Shogun isn't that old. As much as say he's very old, he's only 37. He just turned 37, which is kind of weird considering this guy's been around for, ever. Whenever people were talking about Shogun being done, 4 or 5 years ago, and he was only in his early 30s, so, listen, but then again, it's fighting years, because he's been fighting since he's been probably 20, 21, 22. But obviously we know him, he's a future Hall of Famer, former UFC champion, but he still won 4 of his last 5, Little Nog, Corey Anderson, which is crazy to think about considering where Corey Anderson's at right now, and John Vellante and Tyson Pedro. His one loss in the past, I believe 4 or 5 years, was to Anthony Smith via KO. I'm gonna hesitate, very slightly take Shogun here. I don't know, man. I've debated back and forth on it. I like Paul Craig a lot. I like his submission skills, but I don't think it's gonna go there. I think Shogun is just, he's so tough and he's so durable. I don't think you can get him out of there, and I also think he's wise enough to not let the fight go to the ground. So I think I'm gonna take Shogun here via probably decision or a late finish. What are your thoughts?
Dude, there's no way he'll get caught up. If he makes a rookie mistake, letting that fight to go to a round, I think that'd be his biggest downfall whatsoever. So I think if he completely prevents that from occurring, he should be fine, especially if the guy has pretty much every win from submission. So as long as he keeps it on the feet, maybe just tangles him up in the cage a couple times, avoids hitting the ground, he should be safe and should take the W, very steadily to the end. I mean, it might be a rough ride, but he'll make it there.
Yeah, he'll make it there. So I'm assuming you're pretty much on board with taking Shogun.
Of course.
Okay, all right. So same page for both fights. This next one, I don't know if you'll have an opinion on it, but Charles Oliveira, Bronx Oliveira is, in my opinion, the most underrated guy on the most underrated streak going on in the UFC right now. He has the most submission wins in UFC history at 13. He's won 5 in a row. Nick Lentz, David Seymour, Jim Miller, Christos Giagos, Clay Guida, and before that, a close loss to Paul Felder, and then before that, a win over Will Brooks. So he's been 6 of his last 7, currently riding 5-fight win streak against the guys I previously mentioned. And he's taking on Jared Gordon. And like Jared Gordon, I think he's a really great story. He's improved a lot since joining the UFC, but he's only won 1 fight in a row. He's 3-2 in the promotion. So I think Charles Oliveira definitely deserves a way bigger fight than this. He's breaking into the top 15 now, but he's been a very up and down guy throughout his career. But it looks like he's really getting it on the right page now. He's looking phenomenal. And I'm going to take him to win here. Obviously, I think he's going to get the nice win, but damn, this dude deserves somebody really, really good next. I hope he gets that big fight because he's been working hard for a long time. He's in the UFC for a decade now, but he's still only 30, so, but he's been working really hard. I want to see him get that big fight. Hopefully it comes soon. I think he's going to get this one pretty clearly. But, I'm assuming you don't have a prediction for that one?
I don't.
Alright, fair enough. Now we can move on to some of the other big event in this weekend that's in the realm of combat sports. Bare Knuckle FC 9, Artem Lobov versus Jason Knight 2. If you watched the first fight, it was one of the most entertaining things. I say things, I'm not sure if I can call it a fight. It was basically just 2 guys looking like they're drunk swinging at each other. But it was also the most entertaining thing I'd seen 15 minutes of last year. One of my favorite fights of last year. And I think most people would generally agree with me on that one. It was absolute insanity. They both dropped each other, but they both hurt each other multiple times. Ended up being Artem Lobov winning via decision. Obviously, Artem is coming off of beating the GOAT, Paulie Malignaggi. What was that? That was actually earlier this year, so a couple months ago in June. Wrapping up the year, they actually fought, like I said, earlier this year in April. Artem got a close win. I'm gonna take Artem to win again. But honestly, I don't know how you can not be excited for this thing. I know a lot of people are not bare knuckle fans. I know a lot of people think that it's really kind of cheap. I've compared it to fast food. I think I've done that comparison before. But I'll be damned if it's not entertaining. I'm always very entertained whenever these events happen. Typically I am. And this one has some interesting people on there as well. Chase Sherman's fighting. And our boy Crazy Horse Bennett is fighting on the prelims.
Oh, snap, he's coming back?
He's lost, I think, his last 13 fights in a row. However, this is bare knuckle. It's different. So, we'll see if he can get the win here.
I mean, he broke his hand last time around.
He did break his hand.
That was heartbreaking, dude. He's looking good, too. Maybe not the best, but he's looking good.
Yeah, so I don't know if, we're gonna make it. I'm gonna make that prediction. Obviously, Crazy Horse Bennett's gonna get the win.
I hope so, dude. If not, I'll be heartbroken. If he does lose, it'll be because he broke his hand again.
Probably. But it's a pretty interesting card. Joey Beltran's on there. Like I said, obviously Chase Sherman. I believe Chase Sherman's the heavyweight champ over there, which is pretty interesting because he's a guy that had a lot of potential in the UFC, but ended up falling out. And so he's taking on Charles Ben's taking on what's his name? I believe it's Johnny Bedford. And this guy, I believe he won their tournament not that long ago at that weight class. So he's very accomplished, but I don't think it's going to matter. Charles Bennett via KO.
He's fighting felony Charles Bennett.
That's right. It's no longer Crazy Horse. It's felony. To represent his felonies.
Because he's probably been committing some as of recently.
He absolutely I don't know how he got into Japan to fight, because he's actually a felon.
Oh, I didn't know he was actually a felon.
He's actually a felon.
I mean, I wouldn't doubt it, because of, I don't know, he's something.
Yeah, but he's absolutely a felon. So, anyway, so that's what we got for this week for bare knuckle fighting. It's an interesting card. I'm definitely gonna watch it, but I believe this is the last one of Artem Lobov's contract with bare knuckle fighting. So we'll see where he goes from here. But to move on to something we normally don't talk about, the NFL, but this still relates to fighting. So last night I was watching Thursday Night Football, the Browns and the Steelers. I'm not a Browns fan, but they're definitely the livable loser for like ever. They've been terrible forever. They had their team stolen from them in the 80s, 90s, brought it back, and ever since then, in 1999, they've been brought back. They've absolutely looked terrible. Only made the playoffs once. But to give, some just little tidbits of information, the Steelers have always beaten the shit out of them. Always basically been treated them like a little brother, nothing more than just a walkover the 2 times they see them every single season. And the Browns, they've looked like they're finally going to turn it around. Last season, they made a lot of strides with the rookie Baker Mayfield, in my opinion, was like my favorite college QB of all time. I saw him for 3 years at OU. And they drafted him. They made a bunch of moves. They grabbed OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., grabbed Kareem Hunt. They got a bunch of really good people, got a new head coach, and they've struggled all season long. They started off 2-6. Won last week. They were taking on the Steelers this week. They ended up getting the win. They're up 21-7 with 8 seconds to go. And, Mason Rudolph, who's their backup quarterback after Ben Roethlisberger, ended up tearing his ACL, I believe. He ended up coming in. He's been okay. He's been basically a really checked down guy, a very safe guy to throw the ball. He doesn't take a whole lot of chances. And during the final, which probably contributed to them losing last night, he threw 4 interceptions. So then, final couple plays of the game, 8 seconds left. The Steelers are trying to do something to potentially set up like a Hail Mary or something to maybe make the score look a little bit better than it actually was, because they got completely dominated. Mason Rudolph throws the ball, and while he's throwing, he ends up getting taken to the ground by Myles Garrett, who's like an all-pro defensive end, former NFL number 1 overall draft pick for the Browns. Definitely would have been a Pro Bowler this season too, but he won't be playing for the rest of the season because takes him down. Mason Rudolph, probably pissed off because he's had such a terrible game. He starts yanking at Myles Garrett's helmet, trying to take it off, and it looks like Myles Garrett just goes like, all right, bro, I'm going to take yours off then. And he rips his helmet off because Mason Rudolph tried to take his helmet off. Garrett gets pulled up by 2 of the Steelers' O-linemen. He's getting pulled back away. Mason Rudolph tries to rush him, and Myles Garrett uses the helmet that he took off Mason Rudolph as a fucking weapon and clubs him over the head with it. And that's whenever he gets taken down to the ground by the 2 O-linemen. The center, Marquise Pouncey, comes over and starts kicking Garrett in the head while he's on the ground. And then one of the Brown defensive players goes to, he pushes Rudolph down. They eventually get separated, and, I believe the O-lineman who, was punting Garrett's head on the ground got kicked out of the game. The dude who shoved Mason Rudolph down got thrown out of the game, and Garrett obviously got thrown out of the game. A little bit surprised Mason Rudolph didn't have anything happen, but we'll get into that in a second. The NFL announced today, and I saw the hottest, dude, I loved Twitter last night because I was reading all of the hottest of the takes, man. I saw everything from Garrett should be thrown out of the game, which did happen, to he should be thrown out of the league, to he should be suspended for 30 games, to he should be thrown in jail, to Mason Rudolph should sue him. I saw some of those ridiculous hot takes I've ever seen. And people were like, it should be attempted murder, it should be assault with a deadly weapon, it should be, I'm like, dude, he rushed him. Let's call it for what it is. Mason Rudolph tried to take off his helmet, he kicked at him while he was on the ground, Garrett took his helmet off, Rudolph tried to rush him again, and he hit him with the helmet. I'm not saying that the punishment does not fit the crime. He could have clubbed him over the head and knocked him out, but come on, man. I saw that Mason Rudolph's lawyer came out and said today that they're looking at all possible avenues, possibly legal, to press charges. I'm like, you realize that would never hold for court. I understand that something that it's disappointing, it's terrible to see. You don't want to see fights happen, but you can't rush a guy. You can't kick at him all while he's on the ground and then play the victim, which, basically everybody's siding with him. So, but then again, Myles Garrett's a dumbass for hitting him with a helmet anyway. But the NFL announced today that he's going to be suspended for the rest of the season. I'm a little bit surprised the center, they were like, the center was defending Mason Rudolph. I'm like, the dude's already on the ground while he's kicking him in the face. I don't understand how that's defense, but whatever, man. Definitely a disappointing thing to see, though, but incredibly entertaining. I'm not somebody who's very, judgmental on this type of stuff, because emotions get high, and he shouldn't hit him with a helmet, because God forbid something terrible happens. But, yeah, just really interesting. I know, Angel, I don't know if you saw, I know you did not see the full clip, and I saw that something happened, but, you know. Do you got any thoughts?
I just saw the outrage on Twitter just like you did out of like everybody that I follow, and it was essentially the same thing. Like, well, I mean, it was more or less like he should be banned from the NFL forever, you know, just stuff like that. That's what I kept saying. Or what is this? This is disgusting. You know, the typical angry sports fan. You know, I'd say it like that.
Did you see the people calling for him to be arrested?
I did not see those. I did not come across any of those, actually. I was that I even mentioned it. It was more or less like he should be suspended for the rest of the season without pay, stuff like that. He shouldn't get paid if he wants to continue playing that. Shit like that.
Alright. Well, I saw a lot of those hot takes about him being arrested and being sued, which Mason Rudolph's lawyer actually came out and said they're looking at the avenues for that possibly happening. So we'll see what happens. I don't expect anything to come out of it, but they did announce today that he's suspended for the rest of the season, and suspended indefinitely, which to me leads to think that they're possibly going to do something even more, because they suspended him indefinitely for the rest of the season, and they went ahead and they said playoffs, regular season. So that means that they might suspend him for the rest of this year and then tack on more after that, which the NFL Players Association definitely is not going to be happy with that, but I suppose we'll see what happens there. But whenever there's little stuff like this happens in the NFL, actually, I say little stuff. This is giant, so we're definitely going to see. We're definitely going to talk about it. We talked about Antonio Brown and his crazy shit, so we'll talk about stuff like this occasionally. So, but to move on to the world of basketball, there's a lot. I'd say there's a decent bit to talk about coming out of last week. This past week, you know, obviously teams have struggled. The Golden State Warriors are still struggling, which, by the way, I'll probably bring up weekly because I just really like to talk about it. But the big news was last night. This was the news that was ruling the sports world until Myles Garrett used a helmet like a weapon. It was Carmelo Anthony is signing with the Portland Trailblazers. The Trailblazers are 4-8. Damian Lillard has been struggling. I saw him put up less than 10 points for the first time in forever a couple nights ago. They signed Carmelo Anthony right after. I saw Damian Lillard went on a podcast and talked about how they weren't going to sign him. Like, they looked at him, but they weren't going to sign him. And Carmelo Anthony is now a member of the Portland Trailblazers. His deal is non-guaranteed, but he is apparently going to be joining the team on their road trip. And it's looking like this is going to be his last shot in the league. He's finally getting that shot after all the talk about him retiring, going to the Big Three. I saw that the Banana Boat crew were celebrating on Twitter. I thought for sure he was going to go to the Nets, but instead ended up being the Trailblazers. Angel, does this definitively make the Trailblazers the Western Conference champions? Can we just stop this already? Can we just already hand them the award?
No.
Can we just...
Only if, dude. Only if, dude. It's a fucking battle in the West, dude. Like, now you have the Suns that are good now. The Timberwolves have been looking good. Andrew Wiggins is actually having a consistent season. Which is fucking insane, dude. Like, if you look at the numbers, it's just beyond me.
Dude, Andrew Wiggins, one day your favorite player was better than Andrew Wiggins. In just a snap, Andrew Wiggins became the greatest player in the league. Out of nowhere.
It's not even just that. I mean, I've said it time and time again. I'm like, Andrew Wiggins is a really good player. He's just really inconsistent. And finally, this year, he's been consistent. And, I mean, I don't know how long it's going to last. It's probably not long. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by, like, the end of, 2019, start of 2020, as the season continues, Andrew Wiggins just falls off. But if he doesn't, this is a good thing. Maybe he's turning it around and starts to become just a consistent player, because that's literally all we needed, because Andrew Wiggins is actually a really talented kid.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm an OKC fan. He's like, it's an ongoing meme on r/NBA how good he was against the Thunder. He would only show up against the Thunder. He would average like 40 points against the Thunder.
And not even just that. Now Cat is trying to turn into fucking Kevin Garnett, fighting every center he can in the league. I don't know who it was, but he got into a tussle with someone.
It was Rudy Gay.
It was Rudy Gay, yeah, not even a center. He didn't get in trouble because he's a center or forward. But either way, dude, he's just like, fuck it, fuck this shit. I'm gonna be KG now and just start going off on people, bro. Which
is so weird. It's so like out of character.
I mean, maybe it's always been there, and it's just a fire that he's releasing out now, dude.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think so, man. Like, he's always been a pretty chill guy, I thought.
He is a pretty chill guy.
And now he's out here fighting dudes.
Literally fighting dudes. Dude.
Literally fighting. Now, he's not on some Miles Garnett type shit, but...
Oh, God.
But, you know, still, he's out here fighting dudes.
I know, dude. I mean, fuck, dude. We might get some Malice in the Palace type shit if shit to keep going like that.
I mean, I hope so.
I'd love to see that.
Meta World Peace. It already works. It works because he's already kind of got 3 names.
Well, there you go. But yeah, dude, no, crazy thing is it's a war out here, and damn, dude, the Trailblazers haven't been the Trailblazers of the season before. Now, and the crazy thing is, it's like now I think they have like a really good team compared to last season. I mean, I guess they're missing like those role players, but even then, I thought they still do like very well because they got Son Whiteside and the crew still in the back or most of it. Yeah. It is really sad they didn't get to bring all those pieces they had last year, because I think Hassan Whiteside on top of that would have made that just that much better. But, shit doesn't work out like that. They don't have Cantor anymore. Cantor's over in the East Coast now, again, which I wonder how he's dealing with having that whole Moosey, because he was already on the West Coast before, then he got moved to East, then he came back to the West, now he's back in the East. So that must have been an annoying move. But hey, shit, I guess it'll work that in the end, right? Because he seems pretty happy.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he continued to thank the Knicks that they let him go.
I hope so. Everybody should be thanking the Knicks if they let him go.
The Knicks continues to be a disappointment in the NBA alongside.
They booed Kristaps last night.
I didn't get to see that game. He said he expected it though.
He did, but he got booed really bad. I think he did have a good game though.
I mean, they won, didn't they? I hope they would.
No, they lost to the Knicks.
That's fucking depressing.
Marcus Morris hit a game-winning 3 with like 10 seconds left.
Marcus Morris, who's now on a fat contract, if I remember right.
He is. I remember he was going to sign with somebody else, but he pulled out of that deal to sign with the Knicks because they gave him like something like $66 million. Something insane.
For a fucking role player.
Well, that's what the Knicks do, bro. That's kind of what they do.
I mean, credit to Marcus Morris for securing the bag, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Secure the bag at all means necessary. I have no problem with anybody ever getting paid. I have a problem with the organization that makes the stupid deals.
Oh, 110%.
But it's like, you know what that reminds me of? Remember a couple seasons ago whenever teams were just throwing money, like at everybody? Like Timothy Moscow got like $80 million. That was a fun off season.
What's his name? Anderson. He got that fat pay
Ryan
too.
Anderson, yeah.
Right, Anderson got that fat pay. And then, I can't think of it. Someone else got a fat pay, some white guy who was on the Memphis Grizzlies who I can't think of right now. He got a fat paycheck too.
Oh, Chandler Parsons?
There you go, yeah.
I know that the Knicks signed somebody, I can't remember who it was, but it was an older guy. Was it Luol Deng? I don't know.
It wouldn't be a surprise.
No, never mind. I think Luol Deng signed with the Lakers, I believe, for a crazy amount of money that year. But the Knicks signed somebody crazy too. I don't remember who much.
Either way, though, it's still insane. Quick little thing. I just checked last night's games. I try to keep up with it, dude. But fuck, dude, there's so much shit going on nowadays with all the sports and real life stuff that's hard to keep up with every single little thing. The Pelicans beat the Clippers last night.
Yeah, and that was Paul George's first game. He put up 33 points.
And they lost.
They did lose. I'm a bit surprised at how much they're struggling. I understand load management, blah, 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 and all that stuff, but like outside of that first game where they pretty much just beat up on the Lakers, I've been a little bit disappointed with them.
They're still really good. I will say this
absolutely.
though: when at the start of the season, when the Suns beat the Clippers, someone kept saying, "But they have Paul George." I'm like, I want you to realize they have like 3 guys on that team that were in contention for like defensive who are on all the defensive first team, and 2 guys who were in contention for 6th man of the year, and a guy who just won a ring, and could be potentially MVP at some point in his future career, like going on forward in his career. There is no fucking excuse that you should make for that team saying, "But did they have Paul George?"
Well, yeah, that's kind of the thing, is that whenever Paul George got traded to them, fuck Kawhi, by the way, for stealing him from us, but, I'm joking, but,
That team is still really good, though.
they're so stacked. That's the thing. That's why whenever Kawhi signed with them, that was kind of the original consensus, is that they were so talented. Like, they took the Warriors to 6 games they had KD by that point, by the way, and without any star on that team. Like, they're still a top-tier team.
Now they have 2 guys that are really good.
2 of them.
Yeah. So it's kind of weird. But, I mean, it's regular season. You'll never play how you will in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Precisely. That's, like, I don't... As much as I love the Timberwolves right now, I feel like they got blown up by the playoffs. That's just an example. I'm just giving them an example. But
probably. I don't know. We'll have to see. Who knows? Maybe there'll be some coach. I mean, they haven't... I think a big thing now is a new coach, new culture. Like, I think they're good now. So, I mean, I think they should be in a better situation going forward. But the thing is, it's like, you can't make excuses for this team. And then especially when it comes playoff time, that's especially the time you can't make excuses for this team. Because even then, without Paul George or without Kawhi, if either one of them is on that court with that team is fucking ridiculously good. Like, it doesn't make any sense how good it is. Oh, also, to get back to the Clippers, did you see Austin Rivers teed up his dad?
Oh my god, that was hilarious.
He teed up the dog, and he's like, dude, Thanksgiving might be awkward this year.
Yeah, that was honestly hilarious.
Dude, like, how could there not be beef there? He got traded.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I'd be pissed. But also, like, his dad's part of the reason why he got opportunities in the league to start with.
Oh, true.
Like, Austin Rivers is a pretty good player now, but, like, whenever he first started, he really didn't have much.
Yeah, no, that's a known thing. But at least from what I'm aware of, like, youth-wise, he had extremely good fundamentals because obviously his dad had access to really good NBA players.
Yeah, that's true. That much is true.
But yeah, man, I don't know. Season's still looking interesting. The Lakers are fucking killing it, dude. My Suns weren't able to pull it out. I was like, fuck, let's take another name tonight and take the Lakers. Close game. To the very end, they built up their lead and just kind of... It happened. But it was still a close game at the end of the day. Fucking...
I've got to ask you, man, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but it has to do with your Suns. Do you honestly think this is the year they make the jump for the playoffs?
Oh, dude, I hope so. It's looking like it's gonna be a war, dude. It's gonna be a war. I think for we'll be fighting for that, like, anything from 8 to 6. I think by the end of the year.
Mm.
I think everybody will, though, at the end, like near the bottom, because I feel like by the end of the year, like near the end of the year, 1 and 2 will be locked up, but 3 and 8 will shift throughout the whole year. In my opinion. Because that's how it's been now, and I think it'll continue to be like that, especially with how it was last year, and then I imagine it'll be like that this year too. So I imagine a 3 through 8 will shift the entire year until the very end. Every game is going to matter.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Like, as far as like that for 1 through, like, I'd say somebody's getting left out this year, but I honestly don't think it's gonna be the Suns. Like, I'm jumping on the Suns hype train right now, and I normally jinx things.
Fuck you might just.
So I probably shouldn't, but I'm on the hype train. Maybe, man.
I don't know, man. It's looking good, dude. Team's looking nice. I'm happy. And then, every game has been fun to watch, dude. Every game's been competitive, something that I haven't been able to say for a while, which is a big deal. I think if your team isn't competitive, it makes it very unenjoyable to watch the team. I'll say that. Because you can lose and win games and still have fun watching it, but I think if it's not competitive and it's not even a relatively close game, it's not a fun time to, be a fan of your team.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'll say as a fan who's becoming a like a fan of a team that's becoming rebuilding. As long as we're competitive, that's all that matters to me. I don't care if we win games.
Relatively competitive. I mean, you guys are winning games. I mean, you're above the Warriors. I mean,
That's true. We're not that far out of the. We're still in the hunt, I guess, to say, start of the season. But I think getting closer to the deadline, we're going to be selling off a lot of pieces. Maybe not CP3, which everybody was like speculating. They're going to sell off CP3, but I think
I
think he's here to stay just by virtue of his contract. I think he's here to stay.
He hasn't looked. Someone's going to pick that shit up.
Yeah, and he hasn't particularly looked like he's worth his contract. Like, he looks pretty good. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, he's been a leader on this team. Like,
dude,
15
could the Heat
points.
take that contract?
Maybe.
Shit, dude, the Heat
but I don't know.
Killing it, dude.
I don't know if he'd want to. I don't know if he'd want to mess with that team right now because they're looking really good.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess let's bring in like a whole guy in here, young little group of guys in there. I guess that would fuck with a lot of shit. I don't know, dude.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of really Butler's role. Like, Jimmy Butler's role is to be that kind of veteran presence there with a bunch of young guys.
Dude, the Heat have been killing it though. Like, I can't even.
Yeah, I wouldn't fuck with the Heat right now, dude. Like, they're looking great.
I think that's the surprise team of the year, dude. I think a lot, like going into the, like maybe a season or two ago, I thought they were gonna be into like crazy rebuild mode. Like, they were fucked.
See, I coming into this season, I thought they were definitely a team that was going to make the playoffs, but I thought it was going to be lower end. But right now, they're like number 2 seed. Like, if like they're looking at like that top seed. Like right now, they're absolutely going to be in like the top 4 if I had to guess. If I had to guess.
Also, the Celtics too, dude. They're surprising the hell out of me too.
Oh hell yeah, dude! They are surprising everybody right now.
It's not like that I didn't think the team be good. Like, I 100% knew the Celtics were a good team. I just expected the Sixers to be, like, the number 1 team up there. Like, 100%, like, without a doubt.
Definitely. And there's a couple of teams that are disappointing, too. Like, I'd say the Pistons for me personally, because I don't think anybody outside of me had super high hopes for the Pistons. Listen, man, it's true. They started off the season red hot, man. Not red hot, but Derrick Rose started off red hot. And then they're getting back Blake, and they've lost 3 in a row, so they're 4-8 right now, which is definitely not optimal. But the Nets, too, man. The Nets have not looked very good outside of those first couple games.
Yeah, that's another thing, too. The Nets are... And the team isn't bad enough to be where they're at now. I could see them where the Pacers are at now. I feel like that's where they should be, or even, where, at least in my opinion, I feel like that's where they should be at 7-4, at worst.
Definitely. But... you know how we talked about like how bad the bottom half of the East is? It really looks it right now.
It does.
It like everything from like obviously it's way too soon to talk about playoffs and all that shit. But let's say playoffs started today. We have 6 teams that are even positive, like with the over 500 record in the East. Only 6. Or even around there. Like, the teams that are below 500 are way below.
Yeah, definitely. No, yeah, it's insane, bro. It sucks, because some of these, I mean, I'd probably say outside of, well, fuck, never mind. I was going to say, the only team here that I feel like should be doing better who's not in, quote-unquote playoff contention, because, I mean, obviously there's no playoff here, and I feel like should be doing a lot better is the Bulls, dude. The Bulls are a really good team. Like, the core is there. I think it has to be coaching or something, dude. Is that team, on paper, all the players are legitimately really good, really talented. They're already there. It's just that I don't know what's happening. Like, I feel like they should be where the Hawks are at now. But,
yeah, I actually agree with that. I agree.
But for some reason it's not happening, or it hasn't been happening. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. That team needs something, dude. A really good coach. I don't know who. Shit, dude. They needed what the Suns needed, dude. They needed Monty. But I mean, I don't know, dude. That's heartbreaking for me. I mean, I'm not a Bulls fan. The Bulls have a they're close to my heart. Jordan, someone I like to watch a lot, a player that I like to reference a lot in, I'd say sports culture in general, and just big to the culture of basketball. So it's just kind of like, and it's just because the Bulls have a number of players that are just close to a lot of people's hearts. I mean, Derrick Rose, and Jimmy Butler. There's other people who will love Jimmy Butler till the end of time, dude.
Yeah.
Which is insane. So it sucks to see them in the position they're in now, but I don't know. Hopefully they figure it out. I thought this was gonna be the year they turn it around, but shit, I guess it isn't.
Yeah. Just in general, a lot of teams in flux that I don't want to say. I want to say that it's too early to judge them, but some of these teams have played 12 games to this point. I don't think it's that early to judge them.
No, you're right. But fuck, dude, it's looking bad for some people. And then some teams have just not kind of like dipped down from where they were at, because the Kings were doing pretty good last season. I mean, I guess it took them a little while to pick it up, but like it's not looking too bright now. Just to bring it back to the West.
Yeah, definitely. I think the Kings are by far my most disappointing team.
Oh no, Luke showed up and brought his issue. No, I'm just kidding.
Honestly, though, that's the only thing I can point to. Like, after last season, I don't understand. I can't remember the head coach's name for the Kings. I'm sure you do, but I don't remember his name. But why, whenever that team's making great strides, do you get rid of that guy to bring in a guy that failed with LeBron James and a bunch of the guys on the team? And I'm not saying it's all of his fault, but he's never shown anything to show that he can be a great head coach, and you get rid of a guy that was, the team was striding with him as head coach. They were making improvements. They were developing the way that you want, and they got rid of him.
That was very random. I'm like, and we talked about that, I think, when it originally happened. It's like, they were doing good. What was the point of changing coaches? Like,
to bring in Luke Walton.
of all people.
Yeah, exactly. That's a part I really don't get.
I think if I remember right, it was for quote-unquote player development. Or like, because he's good with young players. Something like that. But shit, dude, I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, it was not the move. I don't even know what to say. It was such as it was so random to me. It didn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense now. It doesn't make any sense then.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just frustrating if you're a Kings fan. But I think I'll leave it at that for that.
Yeah, so I think we covered most stuff in the basketball world for this week. Are you ready to move on to the fight of the year?
Of course. Are you talking about Nikita versus Batista or whatever the guys' names were?
You know, that's funny. I was actually about to bring that up. White chocolate Nikita, okay? This man, looking like the GOAT out there, looking like Roy Jones in his prime. Jokes aside, easily the funniest thing I've seen in a long time.
It was so weird. It was so random. And the thing is, I went on Twitter to look at, the people follow Twitter, other people who are in that realm of world, who are in social media. And they had that same reaction of like, what the fuck was that? It was so weird.
It was absolutely strange. But it was like, you guys don't know what we're talking this guy, Nikita, White Chocolate, was facing this guy, Jonathan Batista. And Batista came out looking like a cab driver. And honestly, the funniest part about this, to me personally, is that if you guys looked up Batista's record, I could be messing up the numbers, but he was like 15-13. I think that was
shit.
Yeah, but here's the thing: he started off like 13-0. I think that was the record that they set on the broadcast. So this means that this man started off looking like a nice prospect, probably lost once and went, damn, I could really just make the same money and just keep on throwing fights. And that's pretty much what he did. Because Nikita drops him with what looked like a glancing shot. He gets up, and then it looks like, Nikita's going to go for the finish. He hits him in the back of the head, and Batista goes down like he got shot. He goes down like he got shot in the face. And the referee is, like, frustrated because it wasn't a hard shot to get hit by. I also got hit in the back of the head, but it wasn't that bad. And the referee's like, get up, dude, get up, get up, get up. Like, Batista was trying to go for that DQ. He wanted out. And then the referee wouldn't let him have it. Nikita got 2 points off. And then Batista starts swinging hands, man. He starts throwing hands. It does not stop throwing hands at the end of the round. And he tries to hit him after the bell. He tries to hit him twice after the bell. Gets DQ'd. And it was one of the broadcast team was losing their shit. And it was so hilarious. I loved it the entire time.
It was so random. I still don't get it. It was so weird. I don't know what to say, dude.
Yeah, I didn't get it either, but I loved every second.
I mean, good for you. I was just so lost. I was like, what is going on? And that fight was supposed to happen earlier in the day too, some shit like that.
Yeah. But I guess that's all to talk about there for that thing. But I guess we can move on to we can just quickly go over the championship fights. Devin Haney got a decision win over Alfredo Alvarez. Not that exciting. Billy Joe Saunders got a knockout win over Marcelo Caceres. Caceres actually looked surprisingly good, I thought. I thought that, I don't know if he was winning, but he was definitely making it more competitive than it should have been. And Billy Joe Saunders rocked him a couple times in the fight, though. In the 11th round, he got the TKO finish. But now we can move on to the main event. KSI, 1-0-1 as an amateur boxer, make his pro debut against Logan Paul, who was 0-1 in his pro debut.
That's something right there.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff that we gave our analysis about last week was basically all wrong. So basically, KSI comes out throwing hands, winging shots. I really don't think he connected on any of them, but he was throwing everything in the kitchen sink against Logan. And I think that was pretty surprising because I did not expect, I thought if anything was going to happen, I thought Logan was going to throw way more punches. I thought he was going to look for the finish early. That was basically all that he talked about. And he looked, those first 2 rounds of the last fight, he looked phenomenal. Instead it was KSI coming out and throwing everything, and I'll say it, I'll be the guy to go out there. He looked bad throwing a lot of it because he was pretty much just winging. But guess what? Logan was throwing literally nothing at all. Honestly, I didn't have a problem. I saw somebody say they gave that first round to Logan, considering that KSI missed basically every single shot he threw. That was just the winging shots. But whatever. So I'm just trying to give a recap real quick.
I mean, the third judge did. The third judge gave it to Logan, dude.
Which, honestly, in hindsight, I was like, yeah, that's a clear KSI round. Rewatching it, I'm like, damn, he missed like every single one of those shots. It really just adds up to what you want to judge for. Because some people are swayed towards defensive boxing, and some are swayed towards offensive boxing. And it depends on whether or not you count Logan using his defense or KSI actually doing anything. So
granted, was Logan? But then also the debate is: was Logan actually defending, or was Logan just not doing anything?
Just moving out of the way.
Yeah,
that's also the point. That's also a good point because Logan kind of was just running out of the way, which was basically all you had to do. You didn't really have to stand there and Philly shell up against KSI, but whatever you want to judge for, it's up to personal opinion.
I mean, the aggression was there though. He did go in.
Yeah, I'm personally a guy who I gave it to KSI. I gave round 1 to KSI. Because I don't know how you can give a guy a round whenever he quite literally basically does nothing.
There's no control. I mean, because what is it? You need, control of the fight, right? Obviously, defense or offense, however you decide to score it. And just, what is it, ring presence? I forget exactly how it's all...
ring control or something?
Yeah, however they call it. It's not like Logan really has control of what's going on. He's not, intentionally defending. So I don't know how you could give him the round, and there's no offense coming from him. So I can't give him the round because of that. At least personally, that's how I see it. Yeah.
Round 2, I'd say, was more of the same. I watched the fight highlights, but I remember round 2 basically being more of the same. Logan threw a bit more this round, but I still think it was another relatively clear KSI round. I think this one was even more clear than the first one. The first one, at least you can argue that KSI missed all of his big shots and Logan moved out of the way and used defense and all that shit. But round 2, honestly, Logan threw more, but KSI actually connected on some of those big right hands. They didn't land clean, they didn't rock him, but they did land. And I thought that was enough to give him round 2. Round 3s were hit the fan. Round 3 and 4 were shit, just straight up hit the fan, for lack of a better term. Stuff really picked up. Round 3, KSI, he's winging some stuff, goes out, and looks like he knocks down Logan. The referee said it was a knockdown. Actually, I heard conflicting things with the referee, but he said it was a knockdown, but that it went behind the head. And from different angles, it looks like an elbow hits him. From this angle, it looks like he was straight to the temple on the ear. Regardless, he did not score the knockdown. He said, because it's illegal or went behind the head or was.
I have some info on this, just from him directly. I went back.
Tell me, 'cause I saw an interview afterwards where he explained it differently. than he did in the ring. So I want to know what you heard.
Okay, so just to recap this, if I remember, Steve Smoger and Ryan Garcia, who were both, Steve Smoger, basically the guy who's there, basically the rule guy who knows everything, right? He if something is going on in the fight, and, he just gives input, he just kind of general information about what's going on. Quick little thing, Jack Reese has his opinions about Steve, he mentioned that in the interview I was watching, just to put that out there as well. He doesn't sound like he's a crazy fan of Steve Smoger. And then Ryan, obviously, professional boxer, he said it was a clean shot, and then I've kind of gone back, looked at some videos of some other people, and a lot of people think it was a clean shot. Actually, I saw a video, and one of the comments was, I'm not like a fan of either of them. I just kind of watch regular boxing, but I was kind of curious and I watched the event. I thought it was a clean knockdown, is what the guy said. So I thought it was kind of random to see that guy there. So I thought that was interesting. Just kind of put that there. So that's what's kind of come from this. But he said, okay, so third round, he said the reason he did it was because it was, so the way JJ was kind of hitting, he was kind of doing those like side hits, where he doesn't have the fist in, right?
Yeah.
It kind of like those full-on, like, hand-closed hits. He said what it seemed to him was it was a cupped hit and it was a drag down. So that's why he decided to wave knockdown. Yeah. I don't know, dude. I've looked back at it multiple times. He said it was, and then I don't know. I've gone back on it multiple times. I've seen a lot of people say, I think it is. And, obviously, I've looked at it. I think it is. I don't know. I need to look at it more, but it looks like a legal shot. It's by the ear, behind the ear, how you want to put it. And it looks in legal territory, and it looks like it actually hurts Logan because Logan's holding on to JJ for dear life in that moment.
Yeah, that's. I was gonna say that's also what I heard from the referee about what happened afterwards. But I remember hearing like in the ring, unless I completely hallucinated this, I thought he said it was behind the head.
I feel like there was things that sounded different in the ring too. I will tell you that.
It was conflicting stuff.
It's conflicting stuff, yeah. That guy also, quick little thing, that ref also was the ref who refed I know you have your opinions about this too, refed the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury fight. And he talks, and I'll send you the interview later if you want to listen to it, Josh. He talks about that 10th round, which, when that time comes, we'll probably bring that up, or not 10th round, that final round.
We'll bring it up in like a week, because we're going to talk about Wilder.
Okay, so I remember that.
Yeah, so that was definitely, he's a controversial referee, for that much. Mostly, I'd say he's a relatively good one, but we'll get into the next round why I personally had a lot of issues with his refereeing.
And I'm ready for this as well, just so you know. Okay,
so anyways, regardless of whether or not you want to judge it as, the referee gave conflicting things on why during the fight, and then afterwards on why it was not scored a knockdown. But in my opinion, it was a relatively clear knockdown. I rewatched it from all the angles and all that shit. I thought it was a relatively clear knockdown for KSI. I thought he got the knockdown that should have been the 2 points. It did not count. He took that round. So basically, JJ is up 3 rounds at this point. You can give him maybe, best case scenario for Logan is 2-1. Okay? So now we're going to the 4th round. This is whenever Logan starts turning up the pressure, right? He's winning the round. We're in like the last, I want to say 40 seconds. I don't know exactly. He's in the last minute. Okay, let's go last minute.
There wasn't too much life left.
Yeah. I don't know the exact time frame, but last minute kind of says it all. So, last minute of the round, he hits JJ with an uppercut that snapped his head back, and that rocked him right there. So, if he separates and lands a couple more shots, I've said this before, we watched, if you guys don't know, we watched the fight together, actually. So, watched the fight together. I said this at the time. I was like, if he separates and lands a couple more, that's probably the fight, because he was on Queer Street, man. He had no idea where he was. He was hurt. But then Logan grabs the back of the head right after that uppercut that landed clean, that rocked him, and lands another one. He held his head, hits him with another uppercut that drops him, and it looks like he kind of pushes him down. He pushes his head down as he's on the way down. So, that was a knockdown. And I was sitting there like, damn, that's the fight, because KSI was hurt. But then the referee calls time. He's like, all right, knockdown, but I'm taking 2 points away because you held his head and you hit him on the ground. So, but he's going to score the knockdown, so now it's an 8-8 situation, which is so strange, and I've never seen it before. But I have a couple of issues with this for a couple of reasons, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this in a minute, but I have issues with this for a majority of reasons. But first off, I'll start. I think taking a point away is absolutely fine. I have no problem taking the point away. I think that was an illegal infraction. Holding the head was definitely the wrong thing to do. That was absolutely contributed to the knockdown. So if you want to, deduct him a point for that, I have no problem with that. Here's where my issue lies. My issue lies whenever you take 2 points in a 6-round fight. And you can say it was to even the playing field. That's what he said. He was like, I'm trying to even the playing field because of the infraction. But here's the thing. He was already hurt from the first uppercut that was legal. It's 2 points in a 6-round fight that puts KSI at a very clear advantage. It's not making it an even playing field. You're swaying it in one way whenever the fight is where it's going. You know what I mean? Like, we're at that point where basically you're just giving him a massive advantage on the scorecards if it was going to go there, which it ended up going there, and it was a big contributor in winning. So I have no problem with the 1 because he deserved the 1, but the 2 I thought was over the line. In my opinion, it was too excessive. And my main issue is he hit him all while he was on the ground. I'm like, to me, obviously, I'm not the one in the ring. I'm not KSI being hit. I'm not the one that's Logan Paul doing the punching. I'm not Jack Reese the refereeing the fight. But it looked to me more like he just kind of shoved him. Like, it looked like he hit him with the uppercut, held his head, hit him again, and then he looked like he kind of pawed at him with the right hand to, make sure he was down. Like, he wasn't a straight-up punch. He was a straight-up punch. He's knocked out, and the fight's over. But it looked like more he was just kind of shoving him while he's on the ground, which is absolutely terrible to do. But let's not pretend he just straight up threw a haymaker on the ground, which is what they kind of treated it as. I know you probably have a lot of thoughts, so I'm going to let you talk because I kind of just rambled on for most of the time.
Okay, so a big thing, something he mentioned, or something that I found out was he could have been DQ'd in that moment, dude. He could have been fucking DQ'd.
Absolutely.
Which would have been fucking terrible. And that was the big thing. He said in the interview, he's like, dude, I did not want to DQ Logan. That was a big thing. He's like, I understood the magnitude of the event. My goal was to allow the fight to go on as much as I could without an interruption. Without any interruption, he said, that's why throughout the fight, I could have multiple times, paused the fight and been like, hey, you're hitting him over the head. And he said that goes for both guys. He said there was multiple times. He's like, obviously, it shows in, that they're, still relatively, young to the sport. Logan did things, JJ did things. He said it went both ways. I did my best to allow the fight to go on because he said there was multiple things on both ends, on JJ's end and on Logan's end. So he said the big thing for me was to let the fight go on as much. And he said at this point, this was a moment where I really had to step in. And he didn't want to call that DQ. And then, obviously, the things that we're addressing was the illegal uppercut, and then there was 2 hits on the ground while on a down opponent, behind the head. So, initially, Jack was only going to take the knockdown because of the hit behind the head. That was just what he was going to do. He was just going to take the knockdown, that was it. He wasn't going to allow the knockdown, and just kind of let the fight go on from there. That was the initial, kind of call. But like you said, he wanted to level the playing field, so that's why he counted knockdown, took the, obviously the 2 points away, making it, 8-8 at that point. And the rule he referenced is Rule 3038, according to, California Code, whatever, da-da-da-da-da. Essentially, I have the rule here pulled up, just so we can recap it. He said, in case of any intentional foul, the referee may interrupt the bout for the purpose of allowing any injured boxer time to recover. So that's why, and he said his main thing at that point was to make sure JJ was okay. He said that was kind of like the big thing for him, besides, addressing, the fouls. He said the main thing I wanted to do at that point is make sure JJ was okay and he can continue. Because he said if JJ said he couldn't continue, he would have DQ'd Logan in that moment. And that was kind of and that was what he was trying to get ready for. Because if he had to DQ him, he was going to do it in that moment. If not, he was going to figure out a way to obviously hemming it out. And obviously, any boxer guilty of any intentional foul should be penalized 1 or more points determined by the referee. If the injured boxer is unable to continue, the offending boxer shall be disqualified. His or her purse may be withheld. And he or she may be subject to suspension, disposition, and the purse and penalty imposed upon boxer shall be determined in the action of the commission and the commission's representatives. So that was kind of the big thing he wanted to he obviously he didn't want that to happen, and he also wanted to make everything fair from there on. And then kind of a thing he mentioned was he's like, if I didn't call the knockdown, took 1 point away, if he just didn't call the knockdown and took 1 point away, he wouldn't have addressed the uppercut. That was kind of the thing, too. Because he's like, I couldn't just do something for one thing and not address the other. And then it kind of ended all. He said he has no issues. And then a quick thing he said at the end was like, he has no issue with Logan if Logan were to contest the 2 points. If he went to the admission and kind of contested that, he says, I personally wouldn't have any issue with it. Obviously, I'm not perfect. No one is. And if anything, he's like, I recommend he does it. Maybe there's something I really didn't catch in that fight, and that should have been, actually called.
So, I think you did a really good job of summarizing what he said and his justification, and talk about the commission, because Logan actually said he's probably going to contest the 2 points of the commission, but he doesn't think anything will happen. And generally speaking, commissions are always siding with the referee. They're always siding with themselves in that situation, which I don't have a problem with, because I think that if something stands in a fight, it should stand. I don't think you should go back and change something just for the sake of changing it. I think it just kind of ruins the fight itself, because if, for example, if that gets pulled down to 1, we're just looking at another draw situation, and they both said, actually, well, Logan wants a third fight, but KSI doesn't, and they can't exactly force that. So there'd be no real purpose outside of getting a second draw. But I guess I'll ask, what did you personally think? Like, do you think it was too excessive? Do you think it was...
hearing his logic behind it, and obviously in the moment, that's something I'm trying to finally take into account, is he's in front of this massive crowd. He's in the middle of this fight. He needs to, deduct everything pretty quick so he can get everything rolling at a decent pace, Because, obviously he wants to make the rules fair and everything for everybody. And I think he's justified in the sense of, I think once you understand why he did everything, it makes sense. And obviously it annoys people in a way. But I get it, because he just wanted to even everything out. At the end of the day, that's everything. And like you said, and I mean, even if he only took 1 point away, and that would have made it a draw, and there's going to be controversy no matter what, because obviously, was JJ's knockdown a knockdown or was it not? Was Logan, and then obviously the 2 point situation, and obviously, and to keep it quite simple, and I told you this in the moment. Logan lost the fight for himself, dude. If Logan doesn't do the illegal uppercut, I doubt he hits him on the way down. I doubt he does all these other things. He probably wins the fight. And, and there would have been controversy even then, just because, people would have been like, why wasn't the JJ knockdown scored, So, I mean, and that's just how the sport is. And, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, he did the best he could, and he evened out that round, which to me now makes sense, understanding why he did it, and I don't have an issue with it. And another thing, something just to reference back the interview that I talked about that he was in, they asked him, have you ever taken 2 points away from any other fight? And funny enough, the guy doing the interview referenced, the Mike Tyson one, because that was the only, in the grand scheme of fights, that's the only other relevant situation it's happened in. He said, no, it's not the first time I ever taken 2 points. There is probably a number of situations where 2 points have been taken away. It's just that when it comes to upper scale, at the higher end of fighting, that's the 2 more referenceable ones that are in the know. Because that's the only one people will reference. Outside of that, no one else has referenced any other ones. And he said he's done it more times. And I don't doubt that there has been more. I mean, boxing is so big in the world. How can it not happen in another fight in some other country? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. So, like you said, adding his perspective into it really changes kind of your overall look at the situation. Like I said, a lot of it was kind of just me fired up from the night out, because I'm like, damn, this kind of ruins it, because unless the fight was going to go to a knockout, which it didn't look like it was going to, it kind of just took a lot of the drama out of the situation in terms of the scoring. But there's still drama with the scoring, which we'll get into, but I guess we can kind of move on to the actual other parts of the fight now.
I'm gonna bring up a quick little thing. I got a text from someone who allegedly is a big fan of boxing. They're like, what the fuck, this, that, 2 points, that's some bullshit, da-da-da-da-da. They're like, he should have gave a warning. I'm like, bro, he fucking hit JJ with an illegal uppercut. Where do you give a warning at that point?
It's absolutely worth the point deduction.
If anything, that was at least, he's like, if anything, 1 point, and that's the whole point debate again, but I'm like, he should have gave a warning. I'm like, dude, where the fuck do you give a warning at that point? Like, I was so lost in that argument. Where do you give a warning? You should give a warning. If he was giving, miniature warnings throughout the fight, he just didn't completely stop the fight for it. He said, once again, to reference back to it, he said he just wanted the kind of flow to go through. you know? He said that was kind of the big thing. He wanted the fight to go on as much as possible. He wanted to let them fight it out, and he wanted there to be a definitive outcome. And, that's that.
Yeah, I don't understand the idea of just giving him a warning, because it's one thing to give him a warning on a smaller infraction. Like, if let's just say, for an example, he hit him behind the head, didn't knock him down, other stuff like that. Like I said, there's a variety of examples you can give to only giving a warning, and it'd be fine. But this is a situation where, like I said, point deduction, absolutely. And the more I think about it, 2 points isn't that bad, but it just kind of ruined the thing for me. Because, unless there was drama with scorecards, which there ultimately was, which made the fight more interesting again, and Logan recovering back and coming back in the final 2 rounds, which made it interesting. But, I don't know, man. There absolutely need to be something done. Because a warning is only for smaller infractions, and I get the whole point of it's their first pro fight, but, like, Logan Paul's not a fucking dumbass. Like, you can argue that point. But, he's in his second fight. First one's amateur, second one's professional. He should know by now not to do that. So, if it's a small infraction, definitely a warning, but at the very least, point deduction, I have no problem with. For the 2 points, they kind of hung me up, but, that's just an opinion thing. Then again, I guess we can move on to rounds 5 and 6. Round 5 was another clear Logan round, in my opinion. I thought it was a relatively clear one. He was still not doing much outside of jabbing, but he was landing those jabs. And there's one thing we've learned from the 2 fights of Logan Paul in the 12 rounds he's been around. He's got a really good jab. He's got a pretty good jab. He sticks it out there. He lands it most of the time. I saw actually, to kind of spoil, I saw that he landed the jab, like he landed more strikes than JJ did, but JJ threw like 60 more strikes. So that was interesting. Round 6 is actually something I know this one was also contested. It was pretty similar to round 1, but I actually gave this one to Logan more, because he actually landed strikes this time around. KSI was throwing a lot more power punches. It looks like in rounds 4 and 5, he was still pretty rocked, and he was looking gassed due to what he threw in the first 3 rounds. Round 6, it looked like he got that second wind, and he was throwing a lot more. I gave this one to Logan, though, just by virtue of he looked like he actually landed more strikes, and he used the defense this time around. Basically, the only difference between this one and round 1 was that he was actually throwing strikes. So, he was the more accurate one that round. So I gave that to round 6 to Logan. So here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to tell you guys the official scorecards. First judge had a 56-55 for KSI. Second one, 57-54 for KSI. And then the final judge, Zachary Young, had a 56-55 for KSI. Basically what that means is if Logan's not an idiot and does not throw those illegal strikes, actually fine, if he even just throws the one illegal strike and does not do anything to KSI was on the ground, he, at the best case scenario, gets a draw. If he does not even put his hand behind the head and he hits him anyways, he probably drops him, probably gets a knockout. But let's say he doesn't even get the knockout, he wins the fight via decision. But this is where it's interesting, because KSI got that knockdown in round 3. There wasn't scored the knockdown. So it's high drama, man. Definitely interesting.
Yeah, no, it was I don't know, dude. I love to see a group of people who are into boxing, score the fight for themselves. That's something I love to see. I love to see that. I hope someone does that. I don't know if anybody ever will, but hopefully someone does. It'd be interesting.
Yeah. I thought KSI won. Like, I thought Logan. See, it was weird coming out of it, because I saw even Eddie Hearn said this. Logan was the better boxer. KSI had that dog in him, man. He was throwing strikes. He did not give a damn what Logan was throwing, and he was just going out there and he was fighting. That's the thing. Like, you can teach someone to box, and you can teach them all the mechanics, and you can teach them little technical things here and there. And Logan had a lot of those technical things. You can't teach someone to not give a fuck. You can't teach someone to not care and just go forward and fight. You can't teach someone that. And KSI has that ability to just go forward and throw. And that ultimately won in the fight, because guess what? Logan did not do in those first 3 rounds. He tried to be a boxer, and he tried to just throw, and Logan tried to box, and KSI tried to fight, and KSI got the win, because he actually kept on moving forward. and I scored it for him. So.
And that's what everybody said, dude. Everybody said, it's that. Logan was the boxer, but JJ was the fighter.
Yeah. So I thought it was really interesting to see, like, the guy who was clearly the better boxer. I don't think anybody would even argue that. But to actually lose and clearly lose, because it's one thing, you can argue the 2-point deduction, but you peep that in, there's no way Logan won that fight. And I don't understand how Zachary Young gave it to him.
And dude, and the thing is, even if you just score the fight all around, like you don't do round based, I think you still give it to JJ, right?
Are you saying like pride rules?
I mean, if you want to do that, sure. I don't know.
Well, pride rules, if you guys don't know, they judge it like an overall fight. Then you could judge on rounds. They judge based on damage. I think if you judge it based on damage, maybe? I don't know. You could argue Logan because he actually hurt him, but he hurt him way worse. But even then, it's a toss-up. But that's not the way you judge fights in boxing. I don't know, man. I thought it was a clear win for KSI.
Yeah, no, and it ended up working out. I mean, if anything, and I will say this. If I were Logan, I would contest it, just because I would want to get another fight. I'll just say that.
Yeah, why not? But do you know where I think this is going, right? I think this is leading... This needs to happen next. It needs to be Jake Paul versus KSI next. Change my mind.
Well, there you go. And that is the power move, dude. Man's still in the public eye. Obviously, vengeance for his brother. Let's see, is boxing rigged or not? Let's see, Jake. Finish it. And let's see if it's rigged or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. This is probably the clearest example of where it isn't rigged because everything that occurred made complete sense on the card reflection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
you know what's funny? I actually did not have a problem with what... If you take a lot of what Jake said and you take it out of the context of his brother losing, he's kind of right, man. He's like, he wasn't really saying it's rigged in terms of, this, like, he wasn't talking about, like, fighters throwing fights. He was talking about in terms of promoters having influence with the commissions and whining and dining judges and a lot of behind the back stuff which goes on in boxing, which we're all kind of aware of. I mean, you guys ever seen Canelo Alvarez scorecards, which I reference almost every single time we talk about boxing, but it's the biggest example I could think of. Like, the Olympics boxing is super rigged, But if you take that out of context...
Granted, Olympic boxing scoring is pretty whack to begin with.
It's terrible. But, if you take if you put it alongside his brother losing, it's just sour grapes. And here's what I want, alright? I want Logan Paul versus Dylan Dennis. He said he wants that. He said he'll box Dylan Dennis. I wouldn't mind that.
I think Jake's the one who'll probably get that front runner though, because he really wants that.
Yeah, but I don't know if that'll happen. I think Logan versus Dylan is the move, and then I think Jake versus KSI is the move. Because they mentioned Logan Paul versus KSI said Logan Paul should go fight CM Punk. CM Punk's back in the WWE, which I was thinking about mentioning on the podcast. But if you guys don't know, he's back in the WWE.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, so thank you for bringing that up. I forgot about that.
Sort of. So his whole UFC thing, I'm assuming it's done because the WWE does not let their guys jump between it. It has to be a really, really special event. Like WWE let Brock Lesnar fight at UFC 200, which was like one of the biggest events ever, and that was the only reason they let him.
Are you saying CM Punk versus Logan Paul wouldn't be a big fight in the UFC?
You know what, man? I'd watch it, but they're different weight classes. It wouldn't even happen.
Yeah.
There's 40 pounds separating. CM Punk fought at 170, and he was a relatively small 170. He weighed in like 169.
There you go.
So, I'd like to see. And Dylan's a pretty big. Dylan would fight he fights at catch weights like 180. So, I don't know, maybe move it down to 190, that would happen. And that happened their first KSI Logan Paul fight, so I don't know. But I think that's absolutely the power move. I think JJ's going to take some time off, though.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely, dude. He secured the bag.
Secured the bag. They made $900,000, bro.
On top of, whatever else they got paid on top of that. Dude, no, yeah. Insanity, dude. I mean, there was a lot of notable names there. Daniel Keem, according to Wikipedia.
You know what's funny? I literally saw that right then, and I thought it was really hilarious that his name, it's not Keemstar, it's Daniel Keem.
Yeah. So
we met that man.
Mike Tyson, Dan Bilzerian was supposed to be there, and if he was there, apparently Wiz Khalifa was there. Wrong Khalifa. Don't get too excited, guys. And Tyrone Woodley was there, apparently.
Bieber was there. The Biebs.
Yeah, and the Bees was there. That was the big name. Ed Sheeran, quote unquote, was there. Sadly, it wasn't fake Ed Sheeran. I don't know if you ever saw that, Josh.
I did see that. That was hilarious.
Yeah, so that was really funny. All I'm saying is, though, if I'm Logan, I'm like, hey, Eddie, help me contest this. Help me contest it, and JJ will get the tie off. We'll make it a tie on the record. And all I'm saying is, dude, if that's a tie on his record, I know JJ would be pissed.
Oh, absolutely. And he should be.
Yeah, and kind of just to bring it all back, I mean, wasn't the craziest, technical level of boxing. I mean, no one should have expected that out of them. And then that wasn't the fight that we were wanting or expecting to have, but there was bits and pieces here and there. It just wasn't all together, and one day maybe, but it's just not now. And JJ, and then also dude, JJ uploaded some videos of him at his camp, or not JJ did, but Vidal did, dude, and it's different. It's night and day, but I think once you're in there, it's a different animal for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, hopefully JJ continues to grow as a boxer. I mean, slowly but surely making his way through. I mean, there's good things that were in his first fight with Logan, and good things that were in his second fight, and just a mixture of stuff. And hopefully one day he's just able to bring it together and just able to improve, because it's entertaining, and hopefully he fights someone else in the entertainment world, because I mean that's what I'd stick to. I mean, I wouldn't try to go pro. I'd just be trying to take names out here left and right in the YouTube world if I were him.
Yeah. If there's one thing I thought was funny, I overall thought it was a really awesome event, and I thought it was really, really cool. I saw people complaining about it, but I thought it was awesome. It was one thing I thought was really, really funny. I saw Vidal post something about how he outcoached Shannon Briggs on Twitter.
And shit, how could you not, dude? How could you not give yourself some self-love, though? You know what I mean?
But, listen, I thought it was legitimately the funniest thing. And I understand, but did he just go tell him to go like Deontay Wilder windmill for 6 rounds? That's basically all KSI did. Like, he didn't really coach him much. Maybe I'm being biased here.
It worked, though. It worked. I mean, if it works, it works.
It does. Yeah, that's true. If it works, it works. And he got the win. But I thought it was just.
You got, sometimes we just got to secure the W, and the W was secured, my friend.
Yeah, the W was secured. So good for him and good for KSI, though.
And obviously good for Vidal, because Vidal's now part of Mayweather Promotions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's helped his career out, and he's helped, it goes by the way, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. So, kudos to him, kudos to them. Shannon, let's go champ at the end. Maybe he'll run up on Klitschko again while he's eating and eat his food. If you've seen that video.
Of course I have.
As for that, I mean, I think that's it, Josh. I think we did an amazing job of recapping everything as always, every week as we do, and I mean, it was entertaining, and sadly, no boxing, no big interesting boxing this week. I mean, there's some stuff going on at cruiserweight, but not much to talk about here. At least stuff that I'm interested in, and it's gonna be all for next week when we talk about. I think there's 2 big fights coming up.
Yep. So there's a big fight next week. We're obviously gonna talk about Wilder and Ortiz too, which is coming up really quick, but. Yeah, so that's all we got for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is a longer one. This one went pretty long. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed. At Courtside Soundoff on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Courtside Sound 1 on Twitter. I'm at Josh Evanoff. If you want to follow me for my MMA stuff. If you want to follow at Angel Ortega _ 01 for all of his basketball hot takes. And I saw you posted something about KSI about to go from Fifi YouTuber to this. It's really insane, which I thought was a good tweet. But, you guys should follow him as well. Get him up to, I don't know how many followers do you have, Angel? Well,
it's not that many, is it? I'm surprised I even have followers to begin with, because I've never been active on Twitter.
Yeah, that's kind of weird, but.
So shout out to people who followed me whatsoever. I mean, I've gotten a lot, surprisingly, just from starting a podcast. Get me up to 50, because I'm at 45 now, so let's give ourselves a small goal. We'll work our way up slowly.
We'll work our way up to 50. But, yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. So, Amazon Target, as always, support them. Great sponsor for the podcast. So if you guys want to give them some love, give us some love. You can do that through all the social media stuff I just mentioned. So we're going to head out. So peace and butt grease. Mouse click.